Sir Michael,
and
look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just
about the history of my people.
Sure,
do I want to go there?
No, I don't.
Do you really want to go
we're
there?
Raul, we're going to go to break. Raul Reyes, thank you very much for joining us. Everybody else, hang tight. We'll be right back.
Honestly, I don't think we should be surprised that Anna Navarro would, how do I say, have a comment like this that would obviously set somebody off. And by the way, Sir Michael here is 100% justified to be set off, as you guys will see over the course of this video. But when talking about Anna Navarro, I need to kind of remind people that this woman's justification for Roe v. Wade, well, let me just kind of replay it for you guys.
The mother before, during, and after the child.
And I am not anybody to tell you what you need to do with your life or with your uterus. And because I have a family with a lot of special needs kids. I have a brother who's 57 and has the mental and motor skills of a 1-year-old. And I know what that means financially, emotionally, physically for a family. And I know not all families can do it. And I have a step-granddaughter who was born with Down syndrome. And you know what? It is very difficult in Florida to get services. It is not as easy as it sounds on paper.
I played that little edited bit to start this video out for a reason, okay? And don't worry, you'll be made abundantly apparent to you here in a second. And of course, the full bit will be linked in the description box, because I can already hear somebody saying, you took her out of context. Trust me, the full context is actually a lot worse. The entire segment was roughly about 1:30, 1:45 seconds. Trust me, it's a lot worse. It's what we call Freudian slips. Now, we'll get to the Freudian slip over the course of this video, but obviously greater context does in fact need to be included before we get to that. What was said the other night, which made Abby Phillips at CNN cut straight to commercial. We shall get to that here in a moment. But the thing about Freudian slips and misspeaks is that they are oftentimes how a person really and truly feels. Now, I'm not going to spend this video talking about what Anna was talking about with people with autism or people who have special needs. I have my own take on that. It actually matches very, very much with what Count Dankula put out in his video on the well, I'll just link it in the description box for you guys. I don't have all the time in the world to explain it, but let's just put it this way here. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased in this because I was diagnosed with Asperger's syndrome as a child, and of course, also ADHD. So you can probably get an idea of how exactly I feel about this issue, especially when it comes to autism, special needs, etc., etc., etc. Even though this video is not really truly about that, I figured I would go ahead and let you guys know that oftentimes misspeaks, Freudian slips, it's oftentimes how a person really and truly feels about something or topic. And of course, Anna Navarro had another one of those quote-unquote Freudian slips, which, by the way, just tells you how she really and truly feels. Now, before we fully dig into this, guys, make sure you guys, if you have not subscribed to the channel and you want to support this channel, the best way to do it for free is to simply hit the subscribe button and become a subscriber. Also, if you can, please cut the notifications bell on so that way you guys are notified when videos are released. Yes, we are going to be transitioning the content over the next month, but please stick around for all that there too, because you will see that's mostly just a change in the presentation and, of course, an expansion of overall topics going in a bit of a different direction to kind of explain things. There will probably be some updates out in tomorrow's video to go along with the topic tomorrow, because it's not that long of a topic, but of course I'll be providing additional context of what's actually going to be happening over the course of May and what's eventually going to happen, in case you have not actually watched the updates video, which will be in the description box. Also, to go on top of that, if you guys can, if you are already subscribed, please make sure the notification bells are on so that way you guys are notified when the videos are released. And if you guys can, please hit that thumbs up button, that like button, so that way this video will get out to a much, much larger audience. And let us go ahead and get it. So, the topic of immigration, that right there is a hot, dead topic. And of course, we have got this situation going on, another 80-20 issue, as Scott Jennings would remind us of, involving Mr. Abreu Garcia. I probably mispronounced his name, but of course, if you guys have been keeping up with this, then chances are you know that a suspected MS-13 gang member was deported, and the media is saying that he was wrongfully deported. He was deported back to his native El Salvador, and of course, the court basically said, look, to the Trump administration, you got to facilitate this guy's return, and the Trump administration actually obliged. They have facilitated this guy's return. However, it would involve a deportation to another country. But also, to go on top of that, Bukele down in El Salvador is, being a friend. He is saying, I will not send this terrorist back to my friend, the United States of America. We really and truly appreciate that. And of course, to go on top of that, there would also be this bit from Stephen Miller that I'll play for you guys, which kind of adds additional context to the situation that we are in. It's about a minute, but here you go.
Agreeing to take some of the most dangerous terrorists off of America's streets and to put them into a safe environment where they cannot continue to engage in acts of terrorism or coordination with the Maduro regime. You may have seen recently an FBI assessment that was unclassified that said that the Maduro regime is using and planning to use Trinidad terrorists to carry out assassination plots on American soil. Now, very few in this room covered that. I'll let you all ask yourselves why you didn't cover it and why your editors didn't assign that story to you. Something I think you should think about on your own. But this is a earth-shattering piece of news. The Biden administration imported the terrorist army that our own FBI assesses is planning assassination strikes on American soil against critics of the Maduro regime. Those are the terrorists that President Trump is finding and apprehending that our Democrat judges and Democrat activists are trying to keep on U.S. soil. Trinidad has the same legal status as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. MS-13 has the same legal status as Al-Qaeda and ISIS. These are foreign terrorists operating on our soil. And our gratitude to El Salvador for agreeing to take custody of these terrorists is immense.
You guys obviously seen that. You guys obviously heard that. Do I need to talk about how it is that Biden left the border wide open? Do I need to go back to the video that I put out on my second channel, Gear Issue 33, a few years ago, where I talked about how it was that the Red Dawn scenario from 1984 was not entirely impossible, at least through the border standpoint? I'll probably link the video so that way you guys can subscribe to that channel as well, because we're going to be posting there again as early as this Sunday. But like I said, we'll talk more about that tomorrow. But still, though, the point is this right here. The border was left wide open. It wasn't just Trinidad and Nicaragua. It wasn't just people who are, let's just say, from South American nations. We were later on would confirm that a lot of these people that came over were people who come from Middle Eastern nations, radical Islamic nations like Iran, Syria. I'm pretty sure you guys get where I'm going with this. Pakistan, who's currently trying to go to war with India, Afghanistan, all those nations that scream death to America and America's the great Satan. Yemen, those places there. Yes, these people were let in under Biden's watch. They were also let in when Obama was in office as well. So we got ourselves a problem. And as you guys obviously heard from Stephen Miller, the FBI is on this by identifying what's going on and getting these people's intentions. By the way, I did do a video a while back on Trinidad and Nicaragua and their military ties and how it is that it looks like they're going to be going to war with the black gangs in Chicago. Keep that in mind over the course of this video because, as I have said before, the racial war will not be between whites and blacks. It won't be between whites and Hispanics. It'll probably be between blacks versus Hispanics versus Asians and everybody else. But don't worry, we will touch back on that in a second. So, to add further context to this, you got people looking at the political side of this situation saying, how much is this going to affect Trump? Well, it's funny because CNN, they kind of released how people feel about this right now, especially in regards to going into 2026. Here you go. A minute and 10 seconds, but Harry Enten is at it again.
Job as president. Guess who comes out on top? Within the margin of error, but comes out on top. This looks a lot like the election result, right? Trump 45%, 2 points ahead of Harris at 43%. 12% say they'd be doing about the same. But this is the key nugget here. It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris. This looks a heck of a lot like the election result. We have just seen this in poll after poll after poll. Despite the fact that Trump's favorable ratings aren't too hot to trot, when he's matched up against who he was matched up in 2024, he still, across the polls, scores a higher percentage than Kamala Harris does.
Even if they don't know exactly what she would have done, they still went for Donald Trump. Okay, what about when he's matched up against congressional Democrats who we know have had some pretty rough numbers?
Yeah, they have had some pretty rough numbers. So Kamala Harris obviously doesn't hold elected office right now, but Democrats in Congress sure do. So who do you trust more on the U.S. main problems, the main problems in the United States? Well, what do we have here? It's the same exact picture, folks. It's the same exact picture. When you mention...
Not exactly a popular position for Democrats to run on. I mean, you're 32% versus his 40%. I'm just simply saying that if there's one thing that the American people approve of when it comes to the Trump administration, the second Trump administration, is his immigration policy. I'm just simply saying that this right here is probably not the hill you want to die on. We've talked about this in a previous video, and I said, please go ahead and die on this hill. It would be absolutely hilarious to see you guys get beat based off this one issue. Once again, 80-20 issue. But the issue of this video was what? Oh, yeah, that's right. Shermichael Singleton and him getting upset. Now, guys, this next segment, okay, and I'm doing this to provide further context, so that way you guys can see exactly how frustrated Shermichael is roughly 2 minutes and 11 seconds. I'm going to let it play all the way through uninterrupted. But here's the thing that I want to get across before the video, and of course, we will talk about a little bit more on the other side of this particular clip. And it's this right here. Libs, especially smug libs, not all libs, but smug libs in particular, especially those in the media, can't have a conversation with them. They have to get their say in all the damn time. And of course, if something goes against their narrative, they got to butt in, they got to interrupt, all that type of stuff there. Then again, though, at the same time, it's kind of a phenomenon with the current left itself. A lot of people love to look at Donald Trump's debate tactics in 2016 and say that he did this. However, the truth is this right here. As somebody who was in college a few years prior dealing with people that were my political opposite, I ran into this problem a lot. You try to say something, you try to get something out, and all of a sudden you're cut off. That right there is what Shermichael was obviously concerned with, but here you go, the full 2 minutes and 11 seconds, uninterrupted. I'll be back on the other end to discuss it further.
No evidence in court filings.
That's not true.
No, that is true.
That is true.
Michael, that is true. No. Hold
Why
up.
do we always have to play this game of interrupting people when they're talking?
But you're
saying... What is the point of me being on the show if I can never finish my freaking point?
Okay.
This is getting really annoying, Abby.
Hold on.
Everyone else has made their statements. I have yet to say anything.
Hold on a second, okay?
I mean, Jesus.
Hold on a
Why are you
second.
so angry?
Because I want to say something, and I have a point of view to make here as well.
Hang on just one second. Shermichael, let me ask you a question. The question is, has the government presented evidence in court that Abrego Garcia is a member of MS-13?
And my response...
And the answer is no, that has not happened in court. But it doesn't mean that they have not made those claims publicly. It doesn't mean that those claims are not in police reports.
In 2019...
It doesn't mean that they're not in police reports. They're just not statements that were made in a court case.
In 2019, the immigration judge at the time believed the Prince George's County gang unit and the evidence that they presented before that judge at the time that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. This is not my opinion. People can Google this crap. They can Google this. CBS reported on this. If a judge believed it in 2019, is it now all of a sudden not true?
The judge granted him a withholding of removal.
No, I acknowledge that fact.
Which is a different issue. Hold on.
But the point remains that a judge found the evidence to be credible that Mr. Garcia did indeed belong to a gang. So now all of a sudden we're just not going to believe judges?
The judge
we can't have it both ways.
I don't want to go too far down this rabbit hole, but my only point is that the government has not presented beyond the police report. They have not actually presented the evidence to prove that he belonged to this gang.
So police reports not considered evidence before a court of law? Do judges not consider police reports? What are we saying
but
here?
Michael, what was the original?
Relevant.
I actually want Shermichael to finish the point.
It absolutely is relevant to the argument from the administration, which is that Mr. Garcia belonged to a gang as one of the reasons of deporting him out of the country.
Now, you're probably wondering why it is that I'm not going to be agreeing with everything Shermichael says here in this video, because obviously I do agree with everything Shermichael says. There's no point in me actually reparroting the talking points that he quite frankly just said. There's no point in me bringing up the fact that a couple of judges had already deemed this guy, Abrego Garcia, to be a possible MS-13 gang member. There's even this bit right here from ABC News that libs are using as a bit of an own on the current administration, because the current administration, let's just say, there was a bit of a gaffe there, but still, even in the gaffe, it seems to me like, yeah, they even to a certain degree conceded that Trump was correct. But of course, we are not talking about ABC, we are talking about CNN and this panel. It's frustrating talking to somebody and they just constantly interrupt you every 2 seconds, as if to say that they're trying to keep something from getting out. You figure that the audience that watches CNN would need to know this, but then again, at the same time, it's mostly a liberal audience. But still, at the same time, there are some people who watch CNN for their news and are not liberal. Just saying, the propaganda here is pretty dang on strong. Which brings us to the segment that would eventually involve Shermichael going off. But before we do that, we have to establish, once again, Anna Navarro and her Freudian slip. So I'm going to let the first minute here play. We'll break in, give some more commentary, and then of course we'll get to the moment, the point where she really stepped in it, and then of course we will explain what the hell is eventually going to happen going forward, my 2 cents, and close things down. But here we go.
To me, that the political analysis of this, though, is and a lot of average people are looking at it this way. Why is it that we can let 20 million people into the country just walk across, whatever, and there's no real process for them to do that, but then we have to individually pick out every single person and go through years upon years upon years of paperwork and this and that and the other, and all we're trying to do is send them back to where they came from because they came here illegally in the first place. 20 million in with no process. How do you get 20 million out with years and years of people fighting every single case? You could cherry pick any case you want. But the reality is the crisis that put Donald Trump in the White House was caused over years and years and years of neglect and letting people walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them.
Scott is 100% correct. Now, before I play the section fully where Anna completely and totally steps in it, I just want to say one quick thing. On this channel, I know that I have said in past videos on immigration, I have said that if you're here illegally, you don't have due process. I think I conflated that with something else. I apologize for that. It's a bit of an L. I just want to go ahead and make the concession now. However, it is true that you do have due process even if you are here illegally. However, constitutionally, we have the right to deport what we view as a potential invader. Just saying. Now to that bit where Anna steps in it.
It shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Abrego
polling
Garcia
showed Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN polling.
The
public is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this earth.
Asylum is a legal right.
If you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally with a deportation order? Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right.
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not? Now that's not relevant?
It's not
relevant.
No,
I'm talking about Marco Rubio because Marco Rubio
used
used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be
I'm not
an advocate for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're not.
If you come to this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think a lot of Americans
to take care of other people.
There's a hell of a lot of people, other than the black
Anna.
people who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
No, Anna, they're not the same. There was also something else too over the course of that Anna said that was absolutely stupid that you guys will see in the full bit where Scott basically called her out for being, or made fun of her for being a tattoo truther. But still, though, at the same time, though, no, it's not the same. African American black people who were sold into slavery in Africa and brought to the United States. Over time, after freedom was granted to them through a very, very long, arduous process, and of course you have to get reminded of this every day, but it is true. Jim Crow, all that type of stuff there. Over time, they would still have their children here, be naturalized citizens. There'd be a great big giant constitutional process that would eventually give them full citizenship. But still at the same time, though, they were already here, had their children here, so therefore they are in fact naturalized citizens, and it is not the same as people just coming across our border. No, it's not the same. Like I said, guys, there is a Freudian slip here, and you guys obviously saw it. This is how Anna really and truly feels. Also, something else, too. I don't know why it is that Anna continues to keep comparing to other politicians, like Marco Rubio, for example. It's true, Marco Rubio was, in fact, in favor of what she said, but then again, though, he was also in favor of that back in 2012, 13, 14 timeframe before he decided to run for president, because Rubio's original goal was to serve one term in the Senate and then go ahead and be president and then retire, career politician. Of course, Rubio has had to work to regain the trust of MAGA, the American people, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and he's doing a very good job if you ask me as Secretary of State. I've always liked little Marco, or I've liked him a lot more since he's decided to stick it out and not be a jerk, because now he's no longer a jerk the way we originally thought he was. But still, though, at the same time, though, it's really odd to me that they love to compare this to other Republican politicians rather than the actual citizen themselves. It seems like Michael is speaking more for the actual citizen, the actual person who doesn't have the power of being a politician. But, of course, he does, in fact, let her know exactly how he feels, so let me go ahead and get to that. uninterrupted all the way to the end, including Abby Phillips trying to cut him off. But here you go.
Not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said.
I
said there is a lot of people
There's a big
than
difference.
the black people.
There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
There's a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Sir Michael. Look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
Yes, it is.
Let me just heard me
Share
say
Michael.
that's other than the black
Anna
people
and Share Michael,
as
please.
slaves. There are a lot of people from many
I think you
countries
actually
that came
misheard
here
what
illegally.
I think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely
Yes, she did.
So now you're in my
Share
brain?
Michael, listen to me for just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You
Share
think
Michael,
I would
listen to me
say
for a
I
second.
who have advocated
Anna,
for black
please
people
stop.
my entire life would
Anna,
say something like that?
Anna,
Give me a
Because
damn
you've
break.
advocated for black
Anna,
people,
please
great.
stop.
Congratulations. Last time I checked, I'm black. You're not.
Okay, Share Michael.
That's right. I'm Latino, and my people are being racially profiled.
It is.
And
And do I have to remind you the history of my people?
Share
If you
Michael.
want to go there,
No, I
do you
don't.
really
Okay,
want to go
we're
there?
gonna
and
go
know
to break.
how
know the
it goes?
history.
Raul, we're going to
You
go to
know
break.
why?
Raul
Because
Reyes,
kidding
thank
me?
you very much for
Because
joining us.
people have
Everybody
history
else,
of my
hang
own people
tight.
as well.
We'll be right back.
Everything you guys just saw right there is about to happen, I think, and I think it's about to get much, much larger. Michael Finley is one of the few black conservatives out there, obviously, a lot like what Greg Foreman, the officer, Brandon Tatum, and of course a lot of black men this past election who did shift to the right, vote for the Trump administration. Still at the same time, though, does not invalidate a person. You know, this is, you guys know how I feel, but the point is this right here. You want to know why it is you're losing people? This right is the reason why you're doing that. You're invalidating their race. You're trying to compare your situation or a situation of somebody else to their situation when obviously they are not the same. Go back to what I said earlier. Slavery and immigration are not the same thing. They just aren't. Crossing the border versus actually having ancestors in bondage is not the same. Just simply putting that out there. However, there are people who will try to use this comparison to try to justify their position, and Anna Navarro literally just got caught doing so. Now, I know somebody's going to say that you took her out of context, but go back to what you guys saw earlier with Abby Phillips cutting off Michael. Don't you think that maybe he was ready to snap? I mean, I think this was what they want. I think that they want conservatives to absolutely go crazy and snap on them. I don't feel like psychoanalyzing, but if you guys remember correctly, I did mention something earlier about Chicago and Trinidad, Nicaragua, and Venezuelan migrant gangs that are armed with military ties, possibly going to war with the Chicago gang, especially black gangs. Do you think maybe for 1 second that maybe that theory that I had about the incoming race war being between whites and blacks is just made up and not real, and maybe it's more along the lines of slightly melanated versus very, very melanated? Do you think that maybe that right there may be the case? That right there may be what's happening? I just figure I would ponder that, just kind of leave you guys something to kind of think about before we close the video out. So just kind of sit back and just kind of think on it. But as far as what's going to happen going forward, there's going to be more of this if the Democratic Party, the Democrats, and the media continue to use this rhetoric of bring us back our illegals. Trust me, you will see more of this. Just giving you the heads up. But I want you guys to tell me what you think. Now, guys, before I do the whole like, subscribe, share thing, I am going to go ahead and kind of preview the weekend for you guys. I'm going to try to get the video for tomorrow out, which is going to be kind of a updates video, but I'm also going to be responding to something on the internet that, of course, got people all kinds of crazy about the whole trad wife stuff. Just more and more. I'm basically coming back to the video I did the other day where Megyn Kelly got it wrong. So it's going to be kind of an updates video and kind of a follow-up. So that video is going to be released tomorrow. And then, of course, on Sunday, there's going to be kind of a dual release, meaning I'm going to be releasing the video that I have on the Nick Irving situation where he basically sent for China. It's going to be getting released on both channels, Gear Issue 33 and here on John Claymore. And, of course, you'll get the updates before that, which kind of gives you an idea of what's going to be happening going forward with the channel, the transition, the content, because, of course, I have 2 video essays ready to go for the month of May. One is going to be on Full Metal Jacket. The other is going to be on the film First Blood. Going with the military topics first, or 2 of them, because they kind of go hand in hand with Gear Issue 33, the crusty old vet. So I'll leave links in the description box for you guys to go subscribe over there. And, of course, also the full video that, of course, we responded to for greater context. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, sign up in the comments, and I'll see you guys later.